So the year is 1774. This is in Ohio country, Kentucky, West Virginia, in Virginia. And the Chief Plucky-me-no-tea is going to attack McClellan Station at the end of 1776. So this is 2 years before the Chief Plucky's revenge. So Chief Plucky's revenge will happen 2 years later, but he was riding with Johnny Logan during Johnny Logan's revenge against the Yellow Creek Massacre. So, the Yellow Creek Massacre happens. Johnny Logan, Talgahyeetah, his entire family is wiped out. Talgahyeetah's father's dead. Talgahyeetah's mother's dead. Talgahyeetah's sister's dead. Talgahyeetah's sister's intestines strewn up and down the Ohio River is strewn, right? Is strewn, and the baby, the fetus out of Talgahyeetah's baby's fetus was scalped. So they take the baby out of his sister and they scalp the baby too. So that's the white Virginia colonialist Jacob Greathouse. So 1774, Johnny Logan has the Yellow Creek Massacre happen to him. He goes on a rampage, starts killing lots of people in western Pennsylvania, eventually kills 13 whites in retaliation for the 12 Mingo deaths at the Yellow Creek Massacre. So because he kills proportional, he kills 13, right? 12 was killed as his men. He kills 13. To him, it's proportional. Means the exact same thing to him. Now, the whites don't think so because they believe, Jacob Greathouse was a Virginia man, and here he's attacking Pennsylvania colonialist. So they don't feel like that's just. And so in August 1774, you have, well, hold on. So that's the Battle of Point Pleasant's going to eventually happen. So you have Lord Dunmore issues a war to stop Johnny Logan. Lord Dunmore is the governor of Virginia, and so now you got a war. Lord Dunmore's war is after Johnny Logan's revenge. Johnny Talgahyeetah Logan was not at the Battle of Point Pleasant, supposedly the first battle of the American Revolution on October 10th, 1774 in West Virginia. The only major battle of Dunmore's war. In August 1774, Pennsylvania militia entered the Ohio country, quickly destroyed 7 Mingo villages. So it's on. There was, Johnny Logan was being proportional, but then the Pennsylvania militia comes in and just massacres and wipes out. Genocide. It's been genocide since the Pilgrims. Plymouth Rock didn't just land on Malcolm X. Plymouth Rock landed on the Amerindians too. So they destroyed 7 Mingo villages. Towns. Wiped them out. No more Mingo villages. In the Ohio country, Pennsylvania comes in, August 1774, destroys 7 Mingo villages. At the same time, Lord John Murray Dunmore, the governor of Virginia, the British governor, the British royal governor, sent 1,000 men to the Little Kanawha River in modern-day West Virginia to build a fort and to attack the Shawnees. The result of this was the Battle of Point Pleasant between the militia and the Shawnee led by Chief Cornstalk. The forces met on October 10, 1774 at what became known as the Battle of Point Pleasant. After several hours of intense fighting, the British Virginia militia drove Cornstalk's followers north of the Ohio River. The two sides eventually met near Chillicothe to determine peace terms. Johnny Logan, Talgahyeetah was not there at the peace signing terms, even though they said he was invited. He refused to attend, but he did recite a speech. So Johnny Logan recites a speech which will live on into infamy. It was read to Simon Kenton and to Simon Girty. So now you see both Simon Kenton and Simon Girty under a huge elm tree north of present-day Chillicothe. To be read at the conference. So the speech became famous and is known as Logan's Lament. Following the battle, Lord Dunmore's army marched into the Ohio country. So this is after the battle. After it, okay? They've compelled the Ohio Amerindians to agree to a peace treaty at gunpoint. Forced Cornstalk to sign a peace treaty. According to tradition, Johnny Logan refused to attend the negotiations and instead issues a speech. At the Battle of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, what's commonly mistaken as the first battle of the American Revolution, the British Virginians lost about 75 men. 75 were killed and 140 were wounded. The Shawnees' losses could not be determined since they carried away their wounded and threw many of the dead into the river. The next morning, Colonel Christian, who had arrived shortly after the battle, marched his men over the battlefield. They found 21 Shawnee bodies in the open, and 12 more were found hastily covered with brush and old logs. So 21, 12, that's 33 Shawnee Indians that was found by Colonel Christian. So in terms of body count, the Shawnees won. But in terms of who controlled the land at the battle spot, it was Dunmar's win. So among the bodies, they also found Puck-Shinwa, the father of Tecumseh. So Puck-Shinwa, the father of Tecumseh, was murdered at Battle of Point Pleasant in West Virginia, Lord Dunmar's war, in retaliation for Johnny Logan's reciprocal attacks on the colonists for the massacre of his virtually his entire family. So the Chief Cornstalk, his forces are defeated. The Ohio Confederacy warriors, they retreat across the Ohio after they lost about 33 warriors. Captain George Matthews of the Virginia militia was credited with the flanking maneuver that initiated Cornstalk's retreat. The Treaty of Camp Charlotte. Dunmar and Lewis advanced from their respective points into Ohio to within 8 miles of the Shawnee towns at Pickaway Plains, present Pickaway County, Ohio, on the Scioto River. Here they erected the temporary Camp Charlotte on the Sippo Creek, and here they met with Cornstalk to begin peace negotiations. By the terms of the Treaty of Camp Charlotte, October 19, 1774, the Shawnee agreed to cease hunting south of the Ohio and to discontinue harassment of travelers on the river. So stop hunting below the Ohio River and quit harassing people on the Ohio River. Those are the terms that Cornstalk signed. Although Chief Johnny Talgahyeetah Logan said he would cease fighting, he would not attend the formal peace talks. After the Mingo refused to accept the terms, Major William Crawford, so here's another important historical figure, Major William Crawford, who's a bastard, okay? He's just like Washington and just like Lord Dunmar, where they wiped out 7 Mingo villages, right? The 13 Pennsylvania colonists are murdered, so they just wipe out 7 entire Mingo villages. The entire village is just wiped out. So that's Major William Crawford carries on that tradition, right? He's a psychopath, genocider, piece of shit, son of a bitch, motherless fuck, no good fuckwad. So when the Mingo refused to sign the peace treaty, Johnny Logan and all, and Plucky-me-no-tea. Plucky-me-no-tea is right there with Johnny Logan because they're Mingos, Mingo tribe. It might have actually been with the original Mingos that was running around with Johnny Logan killing the Pennsylvania settlers, the 13 of them. So, the Treaty of Camp Charlotte. The Mingo didn't refuse to accept the terms, so Major William Crawford attacked their village of Seekonk, Salt Lick Town, which is near present Steubenville, Ohio. Steubenville again, near Yellow Creek Massacre. So again, William Crawford adds insult to injury, goes back to the original Yellow Creek Massacre spot, and he attacks the village of Seekonk, and he destroys the village. So again, Major William Crawford wipes out a village of Amerindians. I'm not sure who these Amerindians are. I guess they're Mingo. They're saying they're Mingo. So his force of 240 men destroyed another Mingo village. So that's 8 Mingo villages total that have been wiped out by the Virginia colonists, by the British and Virginia invaders. So Simon Kenton had just left Lewis's camp at Point Pleasant, where the great Kanawha River empties into the Ohio, where the Shawnee chief Cornstalk led his surprise attack. After a vigorous fight, Cornstalk eventually retreated and the British colonists claimed victory, although they suffered much greater casualties than the Shawnee. A few weeks later, Dunmore set up temporary headquarters, which he dubbed Camp Charlotte, on the outskirts of Cornstalk's town on the Scioto River, present-day Circleville, Ohio, near the Great Seals State Park. Invited the Shawnee leader, Mingo War Chief, Johnny Talgahyeetah Logan. This I'll repeat, but it's good to get it in your head what happened at Camp Charlotte. So it's another peace treaty. White people had like 400 peace treaties that none of them were honored. They were all broken, every single one of them. So here we see Cornstalk, who we don't even know. He's the chief of the Shawnees. But what jurisdiction and authority does he have for all the Indians, all the Amerindians? And it was at gunpoint. So is a contract that's coerced, is that an enforceable contract? So lots of questions here, right? So you have Camp Charlotte. Johnny Talgahyeetah Logan, he was depressed over the murders of his family and the loss in the war, so he retreated to a small camp of his own on nearby Congo Creek. So he refused to take part in the treaty negotiations, and that's why William Crawford was sent out to burn the Mingo town down, you know, after the peace treaty. So the peace treaty is signed, and right off the bat they show that they're not going to honor the peace treaty by burning the Mingo town down in Steubenville, where Steubenville is today. So British Lord Dunmore sent British Simon Kenton along with the British Simon Girty to Johnny Talgahyeetah Logan's Congo Creek camp to bring back a message from Johnny Talgahyeetah Logan. Simon Kenton witnessed Johnny Logan's outpouring of emotion, while Girty translated the heart-wrenching speech that concluded with the immortal lines, "Who is there to mourn for Logan? Not one." Tecanyaterighto, so Tecanyaterighto, Chief Plucky-me-no-tea, Tecanyaterighto, and Johnny Talgahyeetah Logan had that in common. Both Chief Plucky-me-no-tea and Talgahyeetah both had their families were slain by the invading, psychopathic, massacring, savage white English colonists. So as men who had their families were all dead and nothing to live for, what other choice did they really have? In 1776, Mingo War Chief Johnny Talgahyeetah Logan saved the life of his friend and fellow frontiersman Daniel Boone at Boonesboro, Kentucky. The following year, Simon Kenton was in turn rescued from the Amerindians by Simon Girty after enduring many days of running the gauntlet and various other tortures that should have killed Simon Kenton. Simon Kenton served as a scout on the famous 1778 George Rogers Clark expedition to capture Fort Sackville, and also fought with Mad Anthony Wayne in the Northwest Indian War in 1793-94. Simon Kenton moved to Urbana, Ohio in 1810 and achieved the rank of Brigadier General of the Ohio Militia. He served in the War of 1812 as both a scout and leader of a militia group. In the Battle of Thames in 1813, this is the battle which Tecumseh was killed. Simon Kenton was chosen to identify Tecumseh's body, recognized both Tecumseh and Roundhead, and Simon Kenton saw that the Kentucky colonist was wanting to rip Tecumseh's body to pieces. He misidentifies Roundhead as Tecumseh in order to keep the scavengers from poaching Tecumseh's body. The man who murdered Tecumseh was from Kentucky, was a baby in one of the settlements here. So he was part of the invading colonialists from Kentucky, the homeland of the Shawnee. He also goes on to use the fact that he murdered Tecumseh as a way to get into the political arena. After Martha Dowden died in a tragic house fire, Simon Kenton married Elizabeth Jarboe and had 6 children in his second marriage. Simon Kenton died in and was initially buried at New Jerusalem in Logan County, Ohio. How ironic. Logan County, Ohio. That's where Simon Kenton is born. In Johnny Logan County, Ohio. So his body was later moved to Urbana, Ohio. Simon Kenton was also called Cuttahootha. So Simon Kenton was Cuttahootha. That's what the Shawnees called him. Cudahoga, which I have no idea what that means, but that's what Simon Kenton by the Shawnees was called, Cudahoga. Simon Kenton was one of the largest landowners in the fledgling American colonies, at one time being the owner of 500,000 acres of land in several different territories stretching to St. Louis. And more about Simon Kenton's legacy